You probably picture them out there, living their best life, completely unbothered by your absence and thriving while you are left to pick up the broken pieces of your reality. Some believe that when a narcissist walks away or when you finally escape them, they instantly erase you from their memory, replacing you with a shiny new target without a single second thought. Others think they are sitting somewhere, scheming and laughing at your pain, utterly devoid of any human emotion, consequence, or regret. But none of that is the actual truth. What goes on behind those dead eyes when you finally cut the cord is far darker, far more chaotic, and far more pathetic than you could ever imagine. In fact, 95% of the time, the narcissist isn't experiencing the blissful freedom they project to the world. They are experiencing a psychological freefall. They desperately want you to believe they have won the ultimate victory, but underneath that smug, untouchable exterior is a frantic, suffocating panic. Today, I am going to pull back the curtain on the narcissist's inner anguish. I am going to show you exactly what breaks inside their mind when they realize they can no longer control you, and why your absolute absence is the ultimate punishment they never saw coming. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about the hidden, agonizing reality of what a narcissist actually feels when they lose you forever. By the time most people recognize this hidden pattern of suffering in their abuser, they have already spent months, maybe even years, torturing themselves with the false belief that the narcissist is perfectly happy and whole without them. If you do not understand the exact mechanics of their inner torment right now, you risk breaking your own boundaries, shattering your no-contact rule, and walking right back into a toxic trap, simply because you bought into their carefully crafted illusion of indifference. Number 1 is the complete and terrifying collapse of their false self. You have to understand that a narcissist does not have a solid, fixed identity in the way that a healthy human being does. Their entire personality, their confidence, their quirks, and their perceived strengths were meticulously stitched together using the reactions, the adoration, and the emotional energy they extracted from you. They use you as a psychological mirror to convince themselves that they exist and that they are grand. Like a movie projection on a silver screen when the screen is suddenly ripped away, without you there to catch their image, they are just scattered, meaningless light hitting a dark, empty wall. When you walk away, they do not just lose a partner, they lose their own reflection. Picture a day in their life right after you enforce no contact. They wake up, they check their phone, and there is nothing. No long paragraph from you explaining how hurt you are, no desperate plea for closure, no anger for them to mock. They try to provoke you through a cryptic social media post, but they are met with a wall of total silence. In that quiet, sterile moment, a deep psychological panic sets in. Their greatest fear isn't losing your love. It is the horrifying realization that without your constant attention, they practically cease to exist. Truth number 2 involves a phenomenon known as narcissistic starvation. We often talk about narcissistic supply, but we rarely discuss the profound, visceral agony of supply depletion. Emotional reactions are not just a preference for a narcissist. They are a psychological necessity, functioning exactly like a biological drive. When you withdraw your emotional reactions, your tears, your anger, your devotion, your fear, you are actively starving the parasite in their brain. It feels exactly like a deep-sea diver whose oxygen tube has been suddenly and violently clamped shut while they are miles beneath the surface. They begin to suffocate on their own toxicity. Imagine them pacing the floors of their home late at night, mindlessly scrolling through their contacts, desperately trying to find someone, anyone, to trigger. They might pick a fight with a random stranger online, or scream at a customer service representative, just to feel a tiny, fleeting pulse of power. But none of it is enough. None of it is as rich, as deep, or as sustaining as the premium emotional energy you use to pour into their bottomless pit. You did not just break their heart, you brutally cut off their psychological life support. And that brings us to number 3, the obsessive, paranoid rewriting of history. When a narcissist loses you, especially if you were the one who walked away, they experience what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The undeniable reality that they were abandoned directly conflicts with their delusion of being a perfect, omnipotent, irresistible God. To survive this mental collision, they must immediately and aggressively rewrite history. It is like a desperate defense attorney frantically running documents through a paper shredder while the jury is already in the courtroom reading the guilty verdict. They have to destroy the truth before the truth destroys them. So, they launch the smear campaign. You will hear through the grapevine that they are telling everyone who will listen that you were abusive, that you were unhinged, that they had to escape you for their own safety. They will play the bleeding victim to the new supply, crying crocodile tears over how terribly you mistreated them. But understand this crucial detail. They are not just lying to their friends and their new target. They are frantically lying to themselves. Their lies are not just a calculated strategy to ruin your reputation. They are the only delusional raft they can cling to in order to survive the crushing weight of their own reality. Number 4 is the sudden, unbearable exposure to the void of utter boredom and emptiness. Underneath all the chaos and the drama they manufacture, narcissists suffer from chronic anhedonia. They are fundamentally incapable of self-soothing, incapable of sitting quietly with their own thoughts, and incapable of generating their own internal peace or joy. When you are gone, all the noise and the conflict that kept them distracted disappears. What is left is a yawning, black chasm of nothingness. They are like a parasitic insect trapped inside a sterile, glass jar with absolutely nothing left to consume, frantically buzzing against the walls until they exhaust themselves. Imagine them sitting on their couch on a Sunday afternoon. The new supply is busy, their friends are avoiding them, and there is no one around to manipulate. They stare blankly at the television, rapidly swiping through dating apps with a dead, hollow look in their eyes, feeling absolutely nothing but a creeping, suffocating numbness. They do everything they can to avoid this exact feeling. They are absolutely terrified of the silence, because in the absolute silence, they are violently forced to meet themselves. Moving to number 5, we uncover the deep humiliation of their loss of control. To a narcissist, control is synonymous with superiority. As long as they could push your buttons, make you cry, or make you doubt your own sanity, they felt like a master of the universe. When you detach, heal, and move on, you inflict a massive narcissistic injury. It is exactly like a tyrannical puppet master who stands on stage, pulls the wooden handles, and suddenly discovers all the strings have been cleanly severed, watching in horror as the puppets simply walk away on their own. The realization that you are no longer under their jurisdiction burns them with a profound sense of inferiority. Let us look at a real scenario. They hear through a mutual acquaintance that you got a promotion, that you look healthier than ever, and that you are glowing with a new sense of peace. Instantly, their stomach drops. They might immediately try to send a pathetic hoovering text, "I found your old sweater, do you want it?" Not because they care about the sweater, but because they are desperately checking to see if they can still make you flinch. When you ignore that message, the humiliation multiplies exponentially. Your genuine independence is a blazing insult they can never forgive nor forget. Number 6 is the phantom itch of perceived ownership. A core trait of narcissistic abuse is complete and utter objectification. They never saw you as an autonomous human being with feelings, rights, and boundaries. They saw you as an appliance. You were a toaster, a television, a reliable car that belonged in their garage. Just because you drove away does not mean they stopped believing they own the title to you. It operates exactly like a compulsive hoarder obsessing over a broken, discarded toy they threw in the trash years ago, suddenly flying into a jealous rage at the mere thought that someone else might pick it up, polish it, and realize its true value. Years could pass. They could be married, they could have new children, they could be living on the other side of the country. Yet, they will still create a fake social media account just to stalk your profile in the dead of night. They will see a picture of you smiling next to someone new, and a hot, toxic wave of possessive fury will wash over them. How dare someone else play with their toy? They do not miss you as a unique, irreplaceable person. They miss owning you as a lifelong possession. Truth number 7 reveals the hidden panic of downgrading. Narcissists will constantly flaunt their new supply to make you jealous, ensuring you see exactly how quickly they replaced you. They want you to believe this new person is their soulmate, their perfect match, the one who finally understands them the way you never could. But behind closed doors, a very different reality is playing out. Finding high-grade, premium supply, Someone as empathetic, resilient, forgiving, and accommodating as you were is incredibly difficult. Usually they have to settle. It is like a corrupt, arrogant king who was just permanently exiled from his grand palace, sitting in a muddy ditch and loudly trying to convince all the passing peasants that sleeping in the dirt is actually a luxury vacation. They are putting on a grand show, but internally, they are exhausted. They look at this new person and realize with a sinking dread that they have to start the entire, grueling grooming process all over again. They have to build the mask, love bomb, test boundaries, and slowly break this new person down, and they know this new target doesn't have half the emotional endurance you did. Every time they look at their new, inadequate victim, they are secretly mourning the high-grade fuel they permanently lost in you. And finally, number 8 exposes the inescapable, rotting core of their shame. At the very bottom of the narcissistic personality structure, beneath the grandiosity, the manipulation, the rage, and the entitlement, lies an ocean of repressed shame and deep-seated worthlessness. Their entire disorder is an elaborate psychological defense mechanism designed to prevent them from ever feeling this core wound. But when they lose someone of massive value, someone who truly loved them, the fortress cracks. It is like a rotting, crumbling foundation underneath a lavish, multi-million-dollar mansion. No matter how much imported gold paint they slap on the peeling walls, the entire house is slowly, inevitably sinking into the mud. There are fleeting, unrecorded moments in a narcissist's life, usually late at night when the alcohol wears off, the distractions run out, and the phone is quiet, where the defense mechanisms fail for a split second. In that microscopic window, they see the wreckage of their own life. They realize that they destroy everything pure that touches them, and that they are entirely to blame for their own isolation. They will quickly repress it and blame you again by morning, but that moment of agonizing clarity happened. They will spend their entire, miserable life running on a treadmill from a terrifying ghost that lives inside their own skin. Now take a deep, grounding breath. Look at this entire twisted, psychological landscape we have just walked through together. When you connect all these desperate, frantic behaviors, the suffocating panic of the false self, the paranoid rewriting of history, the obsessive stalking, and the inescapable emptiness, a completely different, massive picture emerges. They spent years painting you as the crazy one. They looked you in the eye and told you that you were too much, that you were entirely replaceable, that you were the problem, and that you meant absolutely nothing to them in the end. But look closely at the reality of their suffering. You were the vital oxygen. You were the reflecting mirror. You were the very foundational earth that kept their frail, artificial identity from completely crumbling into dust. Recognizing this profound truth is your ultimate liberation. You did not fall for their illusions, their love bombing, and their traps because you were weak, gullible, or fundamentally broken. You fell for them because your capacity for empathy, forgiveness, and love was so extraordinarily massive that it could temporarily sustain a psychological black hole. But hear me clearly, it is not your job, and it never was your job, to be collateral damage in their lifelong, unwinnable war against their own shame. The anguish they feel now, that silent, hollow screaming in the dark when they realize you are gone forever, is entirely their own creation. It is the strict, inescapable consequence of using human beings as disposable emotional appliances. By walking away and closing the door, you simply stopped paying the emotional debt for a toxic mortgage they took out on their own soul. You handed them back the heavy, suffocating burden of their own reality, and you stepped into the light of yours. Before you go, I want you to think about this dynamic and share your thoughts down in the comments. What was the exact moment you realized your absolute absence was actually hurting their fragile ego, even if they desperately tried to hide it? Your specific story might be the exact validation someone else desperately needs to read today to stay strong. If you found this deep insight helpful, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who is currently doubting their decision to walk away and go no contact. Keep protecting your peace, keep honoring your reality, and until then, let the healing begin.